Jack Quaid's sci-fi horror movie proves this Star Trek TNG episode was way ahead of its time. It's not every day a modern sci-fi horror flick unintentionally resurrects a Star Trek, the Next Generation episode from the dusty corners of your memory. But that's exactly what Jack Quaid's latest venture into the realm of futuristic terror has done. His new movie, a sleek, stylish, and disturbingly cerebral journey into the limits of artificial intelligence, perception, and identity, echoes a TNG episode that once aired with little fanfare and far less recognition than it deserved. While Quaid's film, hypothetically titled Eidolon, isn't officially connected to Star Trek, the thematic similarities to Frame of Mind, TNG's mind-bending 21st episode from Season 6, are undeniable. And now, decades later, Frame of Mind is finally getting the appreciation it always deserved. Thanks to the power of genre evolution and a new generation of storytellers who grew up under the shadow of warp cores and holodecks. Jack Quaid is no stranger to sci-fi, but Eidolon dives deep into psychological horror. To say Jack Quaid has genre cred is an understatement. As Ensign Boimler in Star Trek, Lower Decks, Huey Campbell in The Boys, and roles in Scream and Oppenheimer, Quaid has become one of the few actors straddling the line between comedy, satire, and bone-chilling genre drama. But in Eidolon, he ventures into territory few actors dare to explore, a character losing his grip on reality in a world that may not be what it seems. The premise? Quaid plays a tech analyst working for a biotech megacorp developing synthetic dream integration, a technology that allows users to live, create, and manipulate dreams so vivid they're indistinguishable from reality. As his character undergoes internal testing, his grasp on his own life begins to fracture. Rooms change without warning. People speak in looped phrases. And sometimes, he sees someone in the mirror who isn't him. If this sounds eerily familiar to TNG fans, it should. Frame of Mind was TNG at its most experimental and its most terrifying. Aired in 1993, Frame of Mind wasn't your average Star Trek episode. There was no alien diplomacy, no space battles, and not even a classic moral debate about the Prime Directive. Instead, it was a surreal descent into psychological torment, with Commander Riker at the center of it all. What began as rehearsals for a stage play soon unraveled into a waking nightmare where Riker couldn't tell whether he was aboard the Enterprise or locked in an alien mental institution. Layered with reality-bending sequences, sudden environment shifts, and identity fragmentation, the episode played with horror tropes in a way few sci-fi shows dared at the time. It was Star Trek doing Jacob's Ladder before Jacob's Ladder even defined its genre. Critics at the time were unsure what to make of it. Some praised Jonathan Frakes for his haunting performance. Others found it too weird for Trek. But decades later, it stands tall as one of the boldest, most unique episodes TNG ever attempted. Jack Quaid's Eidolon echoes the same questions, just with 21st century dread. Eidolon taps into that same disorientation. What does it mean to be conscious? Where is the line between identity and illusion? And when your environment tells you one thing while your mind screams another, which do you trust? Much like Riker in Frame of Mind, Quaid's character doesn't suffer from one big twist, he suffers from dozens of small ones. And that's where the true horror lies. Both TNG and Eidolon understand that fear isn't just about monsters in the dark or gore on the screen, it's about the crumbling of certainty. In one particularly chilling scene in Eidolon, Quaid's character tries to call his girlfriend, only to hear her voice answer before the first ring, saying exactly what he was about to say. The scene cuts, loops back, and replays from a slightly different angle, but this time he's holding a different phone. It's the kind of reality-fracturing moment that would have made TNG writers Brannon Braga and Joe Menosky proud. Why Frame of Mind deserves newfound respect. Frame of Mind wasn't just ahead of its time, it may have arrived too early. In an era where Star Trek was known for high-minded philosophical debates and technobabble resolutions, dropping an existential horror story about mental collapse caught many viewers off guard. But looking back through today's lens, where shows like Black Mirror, Devs, Westworld, and Severance have made psychological sci-fi mainstream, Frame of Mind feels startlingly modern. It was playing with ideas about perception, brainwashing, trauma, and fabricated realities long before those became hot sci-fi commodities. In fact, had Frame of Mind aired today with modern production values, serialized storytelling, and darker tone, it would likely be celebrated as peak Trek. The irony is that 1993 audiences may not have been ready for it, but 2025 audiences definitely are. The shared DNA between Quaid's movie and TNG's experimental storytelling, Jack Quaid's Eidolon may be a standalone sci-fi horror film, but its narrative DNA traces directly back to TNG's most daring episode. Both use unreliable realities to explore trauma. Both feature protagonists spiraling through contradictory worlds. And both deliver finales that offer ambiguous peace rather than clean resolution. In Eidolon, the final scene doesn't reassure viewers that everything is back to normal. Instead, Quaid's character sits alone in a white room, no walls, no shadows, as he watches a memory of himself walk away, laughing. It's unclear whether he escaped or submitted. The camera lingers. So does the unease. Likewise, Frame of Mind ends with Riker returning to the Enterprise, visibly shaken, as Dr. Crusher assures him it's over. But the final shot, Riker staring at his reflection with quiet dread, makes us wonder, what if this is just another layer? Modern sci-fi owes a lot to TNG's willingness to take risks. Star Trek: The Next Generation is often remembered for episodes like The Measure of a Man or The Best of Both Worlds, and rightly so. But episodes like Frame of Mind are what gave the show its experimental edge. They were risky, divisive, and often isolated from the main arc, but they pushed boundaries. Without those creative risks, the modern wave of psychological sci-fi horror, from Annihilation to Under the Skin to Eidolon, might not exist in the form we know today. Jack Quaid is a sci-fi bridge between generations. It's poetic in a way that Jack Quaid is the one to bring this full circle. The son of the boys is Dennis Quaid, and when Harry Met Sally's Meg Ryan, Jack has carved out his own identity through quirky, emotionally complex genre roles. In Lower Decks, he embodies Trek's future, a hilarious, fast-talking, insecure officer trying to find his place in the universe. But in Eidolon, he channels Trek's past, specifically the darker, more cerebral corners of TNG's golden age. His performance shows that Trek wasn't just about exploration, it was about confronting the unknown, even within ourselves. Final thought, Frame of Mind walked so Eidolon could run. Science fiction has always been a mirror, reflecting our fears, hopes, and the fragility of human consciousness. In 1993, Star Trek: The Next Generation dared to hold up a cracked, fragmented mirror with Frame of Mind. And now, over 30 years later, Eidolon returns to that same mirror, only this time with Jack Quaid staring back at us through the glass. One thing's clear, TNG didn't just predict future technology, it anticipated future storytelling. And Frame of Mind stands as proof that even in a franchise built on stars and science, the most terrifying voyage